We believe health is the foundation that unlocks freedom. The freedom to live fully, to be an asset and not a burden, and to chase what truly matters. Through daily practices and proven frameworks, we are here to help you build deep health, find lasting peace, and live with your heart on fire. Welcome to the chase. Greetings, my friend. Welcome back to the show. Was that scary? Greetings, my friend? I don't know. That felt scary after I said it.
No,
how you doing, bud?
Good. I'm doing good.
Good to see
I'm
you.
realizing now that we usually record these on Tuesday,
Yes.
and our gym is Tuesday Blues Day.
Days. Yes.
So I realized that I'm probably wearing the same thing in every episode, and it looks like you're doing costume changes in between for people that
Yep.
are watching this and not listening.
Yeah, I think that's always been the case, though. It's always been like it's remember every what is it, the
Red Shirt Fridays.
Red Shirt Fridays, and then you
remember
have
everyone
one.
deployed.
Yes.
We have it every day of the week. We have Murdered Out Mondays.
Is no matter where we are in our
if we record
recording
on a
schedule,
day,
there's always a color that you have.
Yep.
So don't worry, folks. He does change his shirt every once in a while.
Once in a while being
once
the
in
key.
a while.
Yeah.
All right, this time around, we're going to talk about worthy challenges. And as a little bit of context, I came across this idea in an article by somebody named Tim Wu. The article was in the New York Times. I think this was in 2017. And he had this little bit in the article, and I'm just going to read it. Being a person is only partly about having and exercising choices. It is also about how we face up to the situations that are thrust upon us, about overcoming worthy challenges and finishing difficult tasks, the struggles that help make us who we are. What happens to human experience when so many obstacles and impediments and requirements and preparations have been removed. And so I really like this article, this idea, the tyranny of convenience. And I remember I'd circled or highlighted that concept of worthy challenges. And so I started thinking, that'd be kind of a fun conversation to have. So I started doing some Googling. I was like, somebody must have talked about worthy challenges. Maybe I can pull a clip of somebody like Arthur Brooks or Naval Ravikant, like somebody talking about it. Maybe we can use it as like a hopper talk, and we can just kind of use the idea of a worthy challenge as a spark to talk. But I couldn't find anybody talking about worthy challenges, and which surprised me. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe let's talk about it here and see if we can't define for ourselves and for folks out there what a worthy challenge is and perhaps why it's worth chasing some worthy challenges. And so here's a stab at a definition of a worthy challenge. And I think we'll unpack this throughout this episode bit by bit. But here's our definition, our working definition of a worthy challenge. A worthy challenge is one that demands meaningful work and effort while developing our character through purposeful struggle. It's not merely about reaching a destination, but about engaging in a journey that helps us make us who we are, transforming difficulty into an opportunity for growth. So again, working definition of what a worthy challenge is that we're going to do our best to talk through, experiment with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love just what I just kind of threw out there. Any initial thoughts, any initial things you want to bring up, or you want to just kind of dive into what else we've got?
First off, Tim Wu, I think you said it quickly, but he wrote an article called Tyranny of Convenience.
The Tyranny of Convenience. Yeah.
Man, I feel like either he ripped that off or the Comfort Crisis. It's like the exact same things. It's like
it's very similar. I think the article came out first. So if anybody's stealing anything.
Okay. Just saying.
Yep.
Okay. When I think about this, and I really like your definition, I'd actually like to kind of like go through that maybe a little bit, not point by point, but pull a few things out of that. Okay, so if we go through that, we facing up to the situations that are thrust upon us.
Mm-hmm.
I think what most people, when I first hear you say worthy challenges, I think of it as like, what's a challenge I want to go and pursue?
Mm-hmm.
And I like, if that came from Tim Wu, I like his better, and particularly in relation to the definition that you just laid out.
Yep.
Because to me, it's not about a worthy challenge like I'm going to go sign up for a High Rocks. Is that a worthy challenge? Mm-hmm. I'm going to do a 4-day fast. Is that a worthy challenge? I'm going to start a business. That is a worthy challenge. Seeking these out, chasing and choosing the challenge, it is more about the way you defined it in your definition, which is the way our character is developed by the way we face the challenge. I'm combining the two now. By the way we face the challenges that are thrust upon us.
Yep.
It's kind of like, Huberman's talked about this a little bit. It's like, if you're doing hard things, but you sort of like to do those hard things, your brain doesn't develop the way it does is if you don't like to do those hard things and you do those hard things. So almost by definition of choosing to do it, in essence, you're kind of saying, there's a payoff at the end of this thing, and I'm going to do this because I'm going to come out the other side better than this. As opposed to it just being and sitting in the journey and it being about the development that happens today. So let me just, like, as I think about this, to kind of like wrap it up, what is that worthy challenge that has been thrust upon us? It's this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
If we took all the things that Tim said and the way you defined it and just went like, take the word challenge out and put in life instead, that's the thing. Don't go search for the other thing because you're missing the thing right here that is right in front of you. And we don't need to go seek out worthy challenges because they find us all the damn time. Every time you get triggered, that is a worthy challenge for you to try to work through to develop our character. When your mom gets sick, how you deal with that is a worthy challenge. When you're in a meeting with your team at work and people aren't following through, that's a worthy challenge. Maybe it's not at work. Maybe it's the way your kids are responding to you or not. The way that is a worthy challenge. So to me, what defines a worthy challenge is any circumstance that will develop your character. And I think that is the thing that we, as a evolved species, are subconsciously or consciously chasing. And some of us have a little bit more awareness of it, but from a more spiritual perspective, is to have the development of your soul. Like, who are you? Who do you feel like you are when you're by yourself? Do you feel good about yourself when you're by yourself? Or do you need external stimulus, external pleasures, external things to kind of prop you up? If that's the case, you probably haven't spent the time with the worthy challenges. So that's it. To me, it's not about seeking out I'm going to go do an ice bath every day, because the challenges are there already for us. Like, you don't need the external. You go, no, I'm going to practice that thing so that when the other ones come up, I'll be ready. Cool. But you also can just practice them when they come up and practice with the small ones. Because I think what a lot of people do is they put these external practices on a pedestal. And that's not life. You can get an ice bath at 35 degrees every single morning through the winter outside and still be a reactive douchebag, But I would much rather the opposite. I'd much rather like a calm, serene, patient, poised, balanced, emotionally mature person that doesn't do ice baths. Not to knock on ice baths.
Or douchebags.
Yeah.
We can
maybe knock on that. Yeah.
Okay, so I really like the idea of learning how to turn challenges into worthy challenges. And I think that is a distinction that you're making, or at least that I'm picking up from what you're saying, which is that whatever it is, right? It's the meeting you talked about, it's the kids, it's the traffic, it's the fill in the blank. All of these challenges, they are going to exist. They're going to exist whether we want them there or not. They're going to exist whether we respond to them well or we respond to them poorly. And so one of our goals certainly is to learn how to turn everyday challenges into worthy challenges by allowing them to develop our ability to deal with challenges, which seems slightly recursive, but it is in fact what we're trying to do.
Here's the biggest challenges we all face are the tiny little ones that pass us by without our awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Those little tiny things that pass us by without our awareness are also the things that dictate the quality of our lives. So it is when you're sitting at the breakfast table with your family, are you scrolling through your phone? That's a challenge not to do that, because the dopamine response and the algorithms are set up to be this addictive thing that's going to suck your attention away. We are nothing more than the sum of what we give our attention to. So we've talked about like, show me your priorities. I can tell you your priorities by looking at your calendar. I can also do it by seeing how you act in the moments of free time and how you respond to. It's a level of awareness and discipline about the tiny minutia that would go otherwise unrecognized. The challenge is when you're not feeling like it, you're in a bad mood, still giving your wife a hug before you leave the door to go out in the morning. These are like real challenges that the sum of the parts are so much greater than the whole, or greater than you pouring your attention into manufactured challenges. And I get it. Like I loved Comfort Crisis, and I love the idea of Misogis, and I love the idea of putting big, meaningful challenges and, you know, as Jesse Isler talks about it, like these quarterly events that are, or yearly movers. Like I'm going to do an ultra marathon. Like, yes, I get it. Huge, big, awesome, amazing challenge that will help define potentially a year or maybe a decade of your life. Also not that interested if you can't pay attention to the little things. So what my thesis is that worthy challenges don't mean big. Worthy challenges can be these tiny, tiny things that to me take more discipline than the big ones. Because the big ones, there's the big ego attached to it. There's the big thing where I have to carve out this time, segment it out. I'm going to run a marathon, so that means I'm going to go do these things. But you having a really great relationship, like you not snoozing every morning, hitting the snooze button, you, whatever these little things are that actually like make up the sum of our lives are really worthy challenges. Like, you know, if this is like just read the Daily Stoic every morning and just put that, whatever that one day's passages into practice that day, that is such a worthy challenge. But no one's ever going to know about it, which makes it way more challenging, way more worthy in my mind than you getting to be able to post about it on your life's resume. I did a 7-day silent retreat. Cool. That's a really big challenge that you get to brag about, boost your ego, as opposed to the work that you've done every single day to be super, super present with your loved ones. That to me is like such a worthy challenge. And or taking care of your body in a way that is healthy and not obsessive. Wow, like crazy, huge, amazing. Probably even more challenging than trying to run a sub 3:30 marathon, because it allows you to be obsessive. It allows you to have imbalance. So this is like maybe the coming around the flank position of chasing excellence. Like what we're saying is a life of purpose and poise and balance. That's what we're saying is the things that we should be chasing. Fulfillment. Like what is the thing, the deathbed experience we're going to look back upon and go, thank God I spent my time doing that. I don't know how many people are going to say, the cliche, time in the office. I also don't know how many people are going to say qualified for semifinals. Right? I also don't know how many people are going to say whatever it is, got down to 9% body fat. did that 7-day silent retreat. Maybe that is a thing because it leads into so much knowledge you gain in other ways that you can bring to the small little things. But that's the way I would approach this, is the most worthy challenges are the ones that you're going to not be able to shine a spotlight on. It is going to be the tiny little things that go otherwise unnoticed in our everyday lives. Mm-hmm. What is your take on this?
I think that it's a both and not an either or. At least I'd like to continue this with the idea that it's both and, because of course I agree with you that it is a worthy challenge. All of the things you listed, it is certainly a worthy challenge to be at peace with the decisions you've made. It is certainly a worthy challenge to invest in healthy, productive relationships, right? Like 100%. Where I come from it, what I think about when I think about this idea of worthy challenges is not, yeah, that's not important. But what I think about is, where is the gravitational pull, or what are the magnets that we can put into our lives that can allow us, that can pull us toward the bigger vision we have for our life? And I think there's an interesting tension there. And I like that you pulled out the ego thing, because I hadn't thought about that. And yet it's there in my conception of what a worthy challenge is. It is, I wanted to do a thing. It was hard. I failed 3 times, but I got back up and I got it done. There is the ego development of that, but I don't know it's an unhealthy ego development. So of course everything can be an unhealthy ego development. And so what I think about is, how can we do both of these things at the same time? Because when I think about worthy challenges, I think about what is going to pull me out of the status quo? What is going to pull me out of the default mode? What is going to force me to level up in a way, not necessarily in a superficial, not in a status game, not in a, this is how much money I made now and I want to make this much money, though we can fall into that trap, but more in a, what did I get myself to do, or what did I get myself to believe such that I was able to accomplish a thing that was really, really hard?
I think that what you, I forget how you just said it, but what really resonated was to pull out of default mode. So I think it's a really cool thing to push on the bug and let it squirm a little bit. For those that are operating unconsciously, for those that are programmed by the matrix, for those that are all just following societal expectations, for those that are not taking control of their lives, having any sort of bigger vision or discipline, I think that choosing a worthy challenge can be a transformational experience. Mm-hmm. For those that none of those things are actually the case, I think that most people are choosing worthy, the way that we just listed this out, are doing it hoping that they will come out the other side a changed person. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is my personal biases layered into this, I don't necessarily see that as the case.
Unpack that for
me. I've done 2 Ironman triathlons. Only 1% of people worldwide have done a marathon. So the people that have done a 2-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then run a marathon in the same day, it's got to be one of the more daunting physical challenges. Of course, there's harder, but it's a thing that you can't just go through. You can just show up and do a marathon. And honestly, anybody underneath 200 pounds can show up and do a 6-hour marathon. You can just do that.
Yep.
You can't just show up and do an Ironman. You just can't. There's a 17-hour cutoff. And if you haven't trained like dozens and dozens of hours a week for months and months and months on end, you have no shot.
Yep.
So it's a really hard physical challenge that some people say is a very worthy challenge. in terms of my who I was as a person, I was the same person coming out of it as I was a person going into it. Mm-hmm. The difference was I had a ego boost that I am now one of the few.
Yep.
That was it. That's the only, my life resume had changed, but my internal scale, my internal default mode was no different. Now I get it. Like if somebody was an addict, if somebody was coming from a toxic environment, if somebody needed to, I think that those strong physical things are really important. I think that they really are, and they can. And I honestly don't think that there's much better. I think it's better than therapy. I think it's better than finding church. I think it's better than, so I don't want to discount this physical worthy challenge. I know I'm kind of defaulting to the physical.
Yeah, no.
But what I like is the way that Tim Wu described this, which is face up to the challenge that had been thrust upon us. Were those his words?
That is
part. If you read that
back.
back.
Yeah, I can give it back to you.
Yep, please.
Being a person is only partly about having and exercising choices. It is also about how we face up to
pause
situations.
There. It's only about having an exercise in choices.
Yep.
So what we're saying here is you don't get to choose the worthy challenge. That's what I really, really like, is you don't need to go, I'm going to get up at 4:30 every morning. I'm going to do a side hustle. They're going to find you. So keep going. So you don't get to choose them. And
it is also about how we face up to situations that are thrust upon us, about overcoming worthy challenges and finishing difficult tasks, the struggles that help make us who we are.
Yeah, there's both. There's what I'm saying and additionals in there, as you said.
Yeah.
I leaned hard into the.
No, I think it's a really interesting counterpoint to what I came into this conversation with. Let's pause to say thanks to a few sponsors, and we'll be right back to the conversation. We're brought to you by House of Atlas, a revolutionary shaving company that finally understands those of us with, shall we say, more sensitive skin. Head over to houseofatlas.com. Use the code excellence for 15% off your first order of a razor kit and before and after set. Look, I'll be the first to admit I've always been that guy with delicate skin who did not like shaving because every razor felt like dragging sandpaper across my precious, precious face. That's why I was genuinely surprised when I tried the Atlas razor. Its 5 stainless steel blades and serum strip with aloe and vitamin E actually protect my skin instead of attacking it. The precision trim edge lets me navigate the contours of my face without looking like I got into a fight with a razor, and their shave cream provides this amazing protective layer that makes the whole experience smooth and comfortable. Even the aftershave is gentle enough for me, with a cooling sensation that soothes rather than stings. Some people say that about me too. I soothe rather than sting. If you're tired of treating your face like a battlefield every single morning, or if you're like me every couple weeks, do yourself a favor and visit houseofatlas.com. Enter the code excellence and get 15% off your razor kit and before and after set. Your skin will thank you. We're brought to you by Element, the electrolyte drink mix that helps you perform at your peak without any sugar or artificial ingredients. Head to drinkelement.com/excellence to get your free sample pack with any order. You know that feeling when you're dragging during your workout, or you hit that afternoon slump? That might be an electrolyte issue. Element gives you the essential electrolytes your body needs: sodium, potassium, and magnesium in the right ratios with zero sugar, and it's also very tasty. Whether you're an athlete following a keto diet or just want to feel your best, Element helps you stay hydrated and energized. Don't forget, you'll nab yourself a free Element sample pack with any order when you go to drinkelement.com/excellence. It's a great way to taste all their wonderful flavors. drinkelement.com/excellence. Okay, now let's get back to the show. I think one of the things you said about the Ironman, like you went in or you came out of that with an interesting line on your life resume, but perhaps not internally changed that much. And I certainly won't speak for you, and I couldn't possibly know what you came out of feeling like that. But I will say that I can imagine if I did the work of training for and then completing an Ironman. Yes, I get the nice little line on my life resume, but what I also get is the internal knowledge, the confidence of knowing that I set out to do a thing, that thing was difficult, and that I am capable of doing things like that. Not necessarily that I'm capable of finishing an Ironman, or getting in an ice bath every morning for 30 days, or starting whatever it might be. It's not necessarily that, oh, there's evidence that I'm special because I finished an Ironman, but there is evidence that I'm quote unquote special because I did what was necessary to do a very difficult thing. And now I take that knowledge into the rest of my life, and whatever challenge might arise, whether it's a voluntary one or an involuntary one, I now have in the back of my mind the knowledge that I've done something difficult before, and that helps me do the next difficult thing.
I think that's the common societal connect the dots that I don't see come to life as often as people say it happens. Because what I'm saying, because the worthy challenge to me is you're in a bad mood around your kids. Can you still show them unconditional love even when you're in a bad mood, you didn't sleep last night, you're stressed at work, and they're triggering you? Because you did an Ironman doesn't transfer over that as well.
I agree with that.
And I think that's the message we've been thrust upon us, is if you can go and do these hard, meaningful things, you have proven to yourself that you can be disciplined enough to follow through in this pursuit. And the answer is no.
No, they're
because you're living unconsciously. You have chosen this thing. You've plugged it off. You're living this other thing that you put over there, separate from your life. And because you go and do that thing over there, when you come back to your life, it doesn't make you a better dad. It doesn't make you a better coworker. It doesn't make you a better human being. That's not the narrative that we've been sold. Now, if you have been so far swung, as I said earlier, if you are...
if you're totally shut off and it's...
If you need...
this is the one light switch you need.
You need that cold water thrown in your face to wake up. Yes. If you have no sense of confidence, if you have no sense of control, if you have no sense of agency, then yes, this is very important stuff to be able to go and prove to yourself that you can go and do hard things. Absolutely. But I don't love the narrative that's go choose a challenge and it will reverberate into the other areas.
I think it will reverberate into challenges similar to that. And
correct.
Just like working on the shortening the gap or elongating the gap, whichever the correct one is, between the trigger and the response. Right? Just like if you work on that with your kids, it will reverberate in your ability to do that at work or in traffic or whatever. And so one of the things we talk about a lot is one, the hierarchy of mindset, but also just the idea that like a lot of these things are context dependent, situational, environmental. And so again, I don't think we're disagreeing. I do love that you came at this from a completely different angle because it's not one I was thinking about. But I do think that those different challenges create opportunities, but those opportunities look like mirrors of or shadows of or echoes of that kind of challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you can do the Ironman, the chance of you being able to try to compete as a professional CrossFitter are way higher.
Yep. Or even I would say Ironman reverberating into the idea of starting your own business or something else outside of you that, again, similarly is like, there's going to be a long time here that it's going to hurt. There are going to be a lot of opportunities I have to take an off ramp because nobody knows, nobody cares. At the end of this thing, it's really just me. And am I the kind of person who takes those off ramps, or am I the kind of person who stays with it, who continues, who gets back up when I fall? If I have in the back of my mind the knowledge that I train for one thing, maybe totally different area of life, maybe one's physical, one's mental, or whatever we would call, starting a business, I can lean back on that and I can trust myself that I've done something like this before.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that I'm shortcutting something that, which is worthy. And the worthy part to me is starting a business, a marathon,
Yep.
Ironman, right? Won High Rocks World Championships, which is, to me, the worthy is like,
Interesting.
that's where and yes, to your point, all of those other ones, yep. But because you won Ironman World Championships, I do think you have a better chance at starting a business. Yep. It tells me nothing about how you will be as a leader, though.
Correct.
And what your team will look like.
Yep.
And what the fulfillment and the kind of meaning you're going to create in the world. Those are and that to me is worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of creating challenges that will lead to success in other challenges, absolutely. Of course, right? If you can bench press, then your chances of
the transference is there.
Yeah, the transference to other physical and even similar outside of that. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
What I would kind of like circle a little bit is, how are we defining worthy?
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, that is
my next question. Which
right.
is really
that is worth your time, effort, energy, and focus.
Yep.
So it has to be worth that.
Yep.
So to me, again, if we're going to get to the end of our deathbed, I don't know how many people are going like, thank God I spent those 9 months to get 6th place at High Rocks.
Yep.
Like, I just don't think that's the case. Have a physical fit body to be capable to allow you the freedom to go pursue the real meaningful things. 100%. Absolutely.
Do you feel like, though, and I think you and I agree in large part on this, but just to maybe push on a little bit, and this is actually something we talked about many years ago. And so I'm just trying to kind of bring it back, which is this idea of like, if you come to me and you say like, I really want to be a CrossFit Games athlete, it is not my job to tell you that that is not a worthy goal. It is not my job to tell you that that's not worth the effort that you will need to put forth to actually see that goal through to its fruition. I think of that when I hear you say like, am I going to, on my deathbed, think about, am I going to be truly satisfied by the effort I put in to become 6th place at the National High Rocks event? But do I think that somebody will? Yes. And I don't know that it's because of the 6th place at High Rocks, the result that's going to be it, but it's going to be the process that they put in, the effort that they put in, the relationships that they created, the downstream effects of that. Do I imagine somebody might look back and think, gosh, that was a really good 2 years of my yeah, I think that's at least possible.
It is not my place or my job to tell someone what their goals should be.
Yep.
It is my job, my place, if they are under my tutelage, they're one of my athletes, to ask the right questions.
I love that. Yep.
That sounds phenomenal. That sounds really exciting. Tell me more. Tell me why. And it is my job to challenge them to come up with the right reasons for it. And if the reasons are ego-based, then it is the job of me as the coach to challenge that, to get them to figure out what is the real path to what they actually want to be shooting for.
Yep.
Because they say it's because that's what's going to make me happy, right? Because I want to, then the answer to that is maybe, maybe not.
Yep.
If the answer is like Cole wanted to be able to use this as a means to create a platform so that he could then go and do the good. Dude, that's spot on. That's that's phenomenal. I love the why there.
Yeah.
But if the why is off, then it is our job as coaches, mentors, or even just friends to challenge people, to ask them why. Very similar to the thing that is Danny Meyer.
Yep.
Danny Meyer wrote Setting the Table. He's the founder of one of the best restaurants in the world, 11 Masson Park, that he sold. But he also is the founder of Shake Shack, like this really cool dichotomy restaurant.
Yep.
He was going to law school. And he's like, that's what I'm going to do. He was talking to his uncle about it, and his uncle challenged him. He said, why in the world would you want to go to law school? He's like, well, what do you mean? Like, that's such a great career. That's what I always thought I would do. He's like, you want to be a restaurateur? You learn nothing. You do nothing but talk about food. So it's like, this is like for someone to go like, I want to go to try to win the CrossFit Games. Cool. Yes, that's not just applaud them and cheer them. It's to challenge it. Why? Like, tell me and help give people the nudges to pop them out of the matrix that they might be living in.
I think this is interesting, and we're going to start to wrap this up, but I do want to, and this actually is a nice dovetail into the thing that I thought we were going to talk about. This is kind of fun that we went left when I thought we were going to go right, but I'm cool with it. But I have 3 rules. I come into this with 3 rules of what a worthy challenge is. And I think we're getting towards something that these 3 rules actually do speak to at least that end of things. The Cole Sager CrossFit Games, the Danny Myers restaurateur, the you building CompTrain. Like I think that's where, again, what I thought we were going to spend our time with today. But I think it brings it around nicely. So I'm just going to give you the 3 rules and just we can start to close in on this. So rule number 1, a worthy challenge should connect to your larger life journey and help develop who you are becoming, not just what you can do. Rule number 2, a worthy challenge should develop your character muscles through meaningful opposition, just as physical training builds physical strength. And rule number 3, a worthy challenge emphasizes the value of the process rather than just the definition. So again, as we wrap this up, thoughts
great
on those 3 rules?
I think they're great. I also would circle back to the beginning thing is like, what is the biggest worthy challenge?
Yep.
And it's bringing the biggest worthy challenge we have is to bring our best self to every single possible moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's so freaking hard. That is and think about going back through those 3 rules that you just talked about.
Yep.
Is that going to develop our character? Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. Is that going to help us stay focused on the process, not the destination? Absolutely. Is that in line with our mission? Absolutely. So that is it. Like, this is the left turn when you thought we were going right. My take is we all have this huge, massive challenge in front of us at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Can you not listen to your ego? Can you not go for immediate gratification? Meaning, and those are weird things. They're not what they sound like when you dig into it a little bit. And the biggest thing is, as Jordan Peterson says, your life is not the 2 weeks you have sipping margaritas on the beach in Jamaica. It is the feeling you have, the way your wife treats you when you walk in through the door every day. Mm-hmm. That's your life. That's the everyday. So those are the things that we're trying to optimize. Those are the things that we're trying to pay attention to. Those are the things that we have control over. And the way we do that is to not listen to our ego, which says, it's the Mark England thing that we recently talked about. It's like, get the other people out of your stories. I've repeated that so many times since I heard that. Get the other people out of your stories. This is about you optimizing you, instead of going like, yeah, but my wife, ... or my kids, ... or the coworker or the boss, ... or the political system, ... Just what can we do to become a more high character human being? Mm-hmm. That is the biggest, most massive, worthy challenge all of us face 24/7. Mm-hmm. I don't think we need to seek out other things beyond that.
Okay. And we do actually have to wrap this up, but I want to ask this, which is, where do you place drive and ambition and the desire to do, and I don't want to, I hesitate to say like more, because it's not about more, but how do you fight the desire to do better next year than you did last year? Where do you see that fitting in to the conversation that we've had now? Because I can also see the argument being made that what you're saying is no ambition. Not that you're obviously saying this, you're a very ambitious person, but like no ambition, no ego. I sit and I meditate. Like that's partly the image that I get from what we've talked about here. And again, we've had this conversation enough. I know you well enough that it's not that, but I'm just curious, like, where do you think about where I came into this conversation with the value of a big, hairy, audacious goal that you are going to have to work for, that you will encounter struggle, that you may very well fail at? Where does that fit into the conversation that we've had here today in your mind as we wrap?
This is not about being a bystander. This is about you living life to its maximal, having the most possible amazing experiences as you possibly can. Experiences don't always, for it to be amazing, don't always have to be pleasurable. They could be heart-wrenching, but that's an incredible experience. This is about getting off the stands and into the arena. You going and starting a business, you going and writing a book, you going and having a family, you going and engaging the community. This is not about locking yourself in a closet, sitting cross-legged on a pillow and avoiding life. That is the opposite of what we're talking about. That is not the worthy challenge. That is just you avoiding the thing that we're talking about. So what we want you to do is go and be as active a participant as you possibly can in the creation of an amazing, worthy life. We've given this one opportunity. We don't know if there was a past. We don't know if there's a future. We don't know if there's something coming at the end of this thing. We don't know if there's tomorrow. Yesterday is gone. There is just this thing called the present moment. It's what can you bring to that actual moment? That doesn't mean passivity. That doesn't mean don't care. That doesn't mean don't try and strive. It's the exact opposite of that. Go do more meaningful, bigger things, but do it for the purposes of the development of you as a human being, not for the gratification of your ego of, as you said, raising up and playing the status game. Now I've accomplished this, so now I am in a higher rung of the social circle. I am above you in the tribal ranking because I have defeated the lion and you have not. Yep. This is about you and your character. We've talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs a bunch. We have this amazing opportunity for most of us can actually strive for self-actualization. What that means is your very best self. Your very best self, as the Stoics say, is not a philosopher just writing notes. It's being the emperor of Rome. It's going out and
talk about your philosophy, be it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's stop debating what a good man looks like and just go be one.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I don't think we disagreed here. I think we just came at it from different angles, but I think that's an important thing to highlight is that it's not about the external. It's about the internal. It's about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and ensuring that what we're doing is not for external validation, but for internal peace.
Exactly right.
Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening or watching so you do not miss another episode. For more frameworks and daily practices, visit chasingexcellence.email. And don't forget to tap the link in the show notes for today's full listener guide, where we break down the key ideas and provide actionable steps to help you put them into practice. Until next time, keep building health, finding freedom, and living with your heart on fire.